Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. Before I dig in, I want to thank everybody who's gone on to LinkedIn, connected up with me, followed the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast company page. Just search for it. You'll see the icon come up. If you could follow that, that really helped me. And if you see my content flying by, either with the podcast company page or my happy little face, I'd really appreciate a like, comment, and or a share. Before we get into the interview, I want to ask you a question. Are you full every week of meetings, great qualified conversations with new opportunities? Is your day, your week, your month just booked up with new opportunities and a full pipeline? Or are you spending your time getting rejected, no response, no one picking up, people asking you to take you off the list? It's just rough out there. I know it. But I came up with a system. It started about 5 years ago when I went out on my own, and I've developed it and polished it over the last 5 years. I taught it for the last 3 in person. Now it's online in a course called Start the Conversation, Get the Meeting. You can find it at b2brevenue.com under training. And if the podcast makes sense to you, is this the type of environment that you're selling into? I think you're really going to enjoy the course. You get access to it for a full year, and it's not just videos. It has videos, tons of examples, and now almost 25 hours of real world case studies, what we call office hours, where every week and a half, we have a group call. You can also schedule one-on-ones. You can send me examples and I respond back to you. You can ask questions at any time. We can have one-on-ones to go through your process and what you're running up to and get some coaching, some hints that will make it better. So go to b2brevenue.com, and if you want to talk to me about it, you can schedule the time. I got my calendar link there. You can check the courses out. The other one, are you running into deals getting stuck? When you get into the complex sale, it's very different than the transactional sale. There's a course called Closing the Complex Sale. Also want to check that out if your deals are getting stuck, if you're running into tons of competition, people are beating you down about pricing versus value, and if your deals are just taking way too long. Let's get into the interview. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining us today. As a way of getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Brian, pleasure to be on. I've got your standard background, FBI hostage negotiator, stuff like that. Grew up in Iowa. Small town Iowa boy, FBI hostage negotiator. It's a cliche.
Yeah. Now, you were a police officer before you went in the FBI, weren't you?
KCMO, Kansas City, Missouri Police Department. Yes, I was.
Yeah. Now, how do you get interested in negotiations after doing that? It sounds like you were on the SWAT team too, weren't you? I
was, yeah. A lot of this it's communication related. I it seems a little bit overly obvious there, but, I remember when I was a police officer, there was some detectives some guys that got rotated out of the detective bureau with the police department just because some administrative nonsense. And man, those guys could talk to people. And they would get people to cooperate, without having to yell at anybody really effective, smart stuff. And I remember being blown away by that. So, I ended up in the FBI a couple of years later and then was really blown away by the agents that were making cases, not because they got a hammer on somebody, because they were under arrest and they wanted to try to work their way out of it, but agents that got people to cooperate with them just on establishing a relationship with them. People want to do the right thing or felt attached to the agent in some way. So, communicating with great results just kind of blew me away whenever I got a chance to see it. So ended up being, when I left my SWAT days behind, ended up just being something I was really into and really enjoyed.
Yeah. And now that you're totally focused on business today, aren't you?
Yeah, 1,000%. The stuff that we're doing is just advancing people's businesses and their professional lives, and even solving problems that people took for granted just by nature of what they're dealing with. I give you an example. I was on the phone with a CEO the other day, and we've got this great technique that gets an immediate response for somebody who's no longer returning your phone calls or your emails, and they've gone dead silent on you. And this guy says, I'm blown away by what you taught me, because I'm 11 for 11 on somebody that is not responding. And not only that, see, this particular technique, he says, I can hold my breath when I press the send button on the email, and I'll get a response before I pass out.
Well,
and I'm like,
it's not the breakup email, is it? Is you've been eaten by an alligator or something? Or?
No, it's a re-engagement. It's let's get this back underway sort of email. And but then I was thinking about it after the fact. Like this he said he's 11 for 11 on people that have gone dead silent on him, non-responders. And I'm thinking, this guy's a good communicator. He's got 11 people in his world that are not getting back to him, that he can't get an answer out of. I don't have any. Nobody in my company, nobody's going silent on us at all. And this guy, I think everybody assumes that there are going to be some people that you're doing business with that go silent on you. And that's just part of doing business. And it is not. Those are deals that you should be making. Those aren't even deals that you should be doing a better job on. With most of them you can. But 11, he had 11, I got 0. So I think we're really helping people communicate better, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Because it is more, not just more, but just when you use the word negotiations, what everyone thinks of is that final stage in a deal. But it's a lot more than that. Isn't like all communications kind of a negotiation?
Hey, the most dangerous negotiation is the one you don't know you're in.
You're gonna
yeah,
lose
man. If the word yes is in the air, you're in a negotiation. If you have in your brain, if the words I want are in your brain, then it's a negotiation. Yeah.
And that's it. I think we make the mistake of not really thinking that there is, not just a science to it, but an art to it.
But the more we learn about brain science, neuroscience, there's even more science than a lot of people realize. I think that's a new era that we're going into.
Now, did you study neurolinguistics programming at all?
No, man, are you kidding me? On my accent, it should be clear that I didn't study linguistics.
Well, I got to tell you, because I heard you up in Boston, and we met for just a minute there. And I go, this guy knows how to deframe people better than anybody I've ever seen. Now, the deframe in the neurolinguistics programming is you take your competition and you tell exactly why they're 100% wrong. And you are fantastic at that.
Well, I think I'm a nice guy. I don't know. I think people are 100% wrong.
Well, no. Well, like how you tore apart the yes momentum in your talk.
Oh God, the yes momentum. I think that's why. Actually, I think that's a real reason why people go dead silent on us. They're scared. They're just sick of being trapped with yes.
And I think that's part of the art, in that the science kind of changes as society changes, right? That probably worked in the 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. And yeah, it may be that in a dynamic environment, people are just so sick of being trapped by yes that at one point in time it did work. It just doesn't work anymore. Yeah,
and the no frame, or using a question to get a no that really means yes, which means agreement.
Well, it's interesting. It's often tantamount to agreement, and it ends up being agreement, but actually in a much faster and more effective way than getting people to say yes also. The only time I actually, offer someone the opportunity to say yes to something, and the most effective thing is stuff that they're never going to say yes to, but you're actually just trying to force them to make a decision on a given issue.
Now let's take a typical sales call. Now, a good salesperson, experienced salesperson, would have that what you call a cold read, about the ability to go in and get a sense of where to start. How about if you're brand new to sales? How do you get that initial read?
Well, it's a great question because how do you buy time in a conversation, give yourself a chance to think, to assess, and not put the other side off? And you're going to get a read right away. Hostage negotiators think of the first three things they're going to say and then no more. That's it. And, what's a hostage negotiator? What am I doing as a hostage negotiator when I'm calling into a bank to talk to a bank robber? That's the ultimate cold call, is it not?
It's pretty cold. Yeah, it's definitely cold.
Yeah, man. It's a cold call. So, well, go ahead. What were you going to ask?
But they're going to want to talk to you for a reason, right? So they want something. You want something. You want the person out safe and alive.
Right. Right.
No one hurt. And they want to somehow get away at minimum.
Right. Yeah.
So at least they want to talk to you.
So as a cold caller, unless you're closing your eyes and picking names out of a phone book as a result, and I don't know anybody's doing that, every cold caller's got some reason to be engaging the other side.
Yeah.
You got some data from someplace that they actually, the person you're calling actually took an action to provide you with data to indicate an interest. So it's not like the other side doesn't want anything that you've got access to. 1,000%. I mean, maybe they went on your website and made an inquiry, but you've got a reason on a cold call. And unless you're picking names out of a phone book, again, I don't think anybody's doing that. So it's no different than a bank. You're saying, like, you think a bank robber, sorry about that. You think a bank robber wants to talk to me? No, he doesn't. He wants the heck out. Somebody from law enforcement is the last person he wants on the phone, unless I'm going to give him what he wants, and he doesn't expect that. He'd rather talk to the bank president or somebody that could give him a legal pass. But if you're a cold caller, you got a reason to call.
Yeah. Then how do you build rapport? I mean, what's the easiest way that you sense or have experience in building rapport, either in a cold situation or adversarial situation, or even in a friendly situation?
Okay. Great question. First of all, the last thing, like most cold caller calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, can I speak to Chris Voss, please? May I please speak to Chris Voss?" Very well intentioned, horrible start. You haven't finished your sentence, and I know this is a sales call.
Yeah.
Because none of my friends say, "Hey, can I call and speak to Chris Voss?" So I know it's a sales call to start with. And on top of that, now, I have no idea who you are. Like, that's the first thing going through my mind. Like, I don't even know, this guy's trying to sell me. I don't even know who this guy is. I don't know who he is or where he's from. The best salespeople I've run across always start out with, if I'm a salesperson, I say, "Hi, I'm Chris." Your first name should be the second words out of your mouth. Or that's the third word. "Hi, I'm Chris." Because if I still don't know what this is about, at least I know the name of the other person on the line. That's already taken away some of my anxiety. A hostage negotiator is going to call in a bank, and I'm going to say, "Hi, I'm Chris." It should be the exact same opening. So now, while I've got some anxiety over I don't know what this is about yet, at least I know the person on the other end of the line. I know him by his first name. That's all we want. FBI hostage negotiator, I could call and say, "Hi, I'm Chris from the FBI. I'm a hostage negotiator. I'm going to talk to you." That'd be horrible because it squashes all over Chris.
How you doing today?
Yeah. Well, and actually, the very next stupid thing, as a hostage negotiator, I call into a bank gate, "How are you today?" That's really dumb. But salespeople say the same thing. "How are you today?" No, my friends don't call me and say, "Hi, can I speak to Chris Voss? How are you today?" Again, I know that all this well-intentioned stuff is getting people off to the wrong foot. "Hi, I'm Chris." If I'm a sales cold call person, Next, follow up with a no-oriented question. Have I caught you in the middle of something? Because that gives you control back immediately. By asking that question, not by trying to get you to say yes, which is as soon as I start trying to get you to say yes, which is this yes mode, yes nonsense, I'm trying to take away your ability to say no. I'm trying to take away your control. Another bad move. That's why the yes mode, yes momentum is so destroying of relationships. I mean, the yes mode damages rapport the minute you start it. And you just asked me, how do I build rapport? By taking away my freedom? So a lot of it is just stop doing the bad stuff that you're doing. And the person on the other end of the line, as soon as they're allowed to give you some latitude, they will.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, is this a good time to speak or something like that is the kind of the worst thing. You're giving them an out, and you're wasting time, and they picked up the phone already, so they're speaking.
You just don't go for yes right off the bat.
Yeah.
Because you say, is this a good time to speak? You're hoping they say yes, right?
Obviously, yeah.
So that's bad because it's a yes trap. And yes is taking away people's autonomy. I mean, even if you don't that's the thing I think people have the most trouble over, because that's meant to be respectful. That's meant to be respectful and polite. Your intentions are good. Now, for an effective communication approach, your intentions have to be good, of course. But engaging in a bad strategy, good intentions do not overcome a bad strategy.
Right. And how long do you typically spend trying to establish rapport before you move on?
We never move on from establishing rapport. That's the other reason why this is a great time saver. Every one of our negotiation techniques is designed to simultaneously build rapport. So we don't look at it as an either-or process. We look at it as a simultaneous process, and that's why we save so much time.
Okay. But then the next stage would be what? Trust, or?
Well, you're going for trust, but what you're really going for is substitute the word predictability in for trust.
Okay.
Which again is why so many sales techniques are bad. Like I'm seeing on LinkedIn the other day, a salesperson said, call and ask somebody for help. They'll stay on the phone longer with you because people want to help. Yeah, but you just betrayed them because you don't want help. You want to sell them.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you ask for help? You make yourself, the predictability is that you're a bait and switch guy. The predictability is that I can't trust what you say, that you actually always have a hidden agenda. So, line up predictability for trust, and then trust falls into place.
Okay. So when you say predictability, you mean what? Ask questions that you know the answer to, or guide them in a direction you know they will go?
Start off with, since you have a reason for calling them, go right back into that reason right away.
Okay.
That now begins to take away the anxiety. What's this about? What it also does too is, if you got a reason for calling somebody, they have a need. You need to get at that need right away and refresh it in their mind, because so many people put stuff in the back of their mind. What happens to be top of mind at the moment is probably where they're going to buy. Which is why there's some bad sales techniques, but I understand what they're going for, which say, like, look, if you're going to call people that have been on your website, you need to call them, within 20 minutes to a half an hour after they've been on the site, because, their need is still top of mind.
Yeah.
Well, you just engage in a communication technique that puts the need back in top of mind, but doesn't make them feel trapped, which is, the reason I'm calling it today is because you were on our site, you made an inquiry, and, this might not be for you. I just want to make sure that, that we're qualified for each other. Now what you've just done by doing that is, instead of trying to trap them or close them, now you're giving them the opportunity to qualify, and everybody wants to qualify.
Yeah. Now that correction, I've always found that to be insanely powerful. having them correct you, like what you just did, was say this may not be right for you.
That's a really good point, and that's powerful because actually you're starting to hit a couple of really solid emotional intelligence buttons with that. And of course, this may not be for you, triggers a potential for losing out on an opportunity, and losing out is such a driver in human nature that there's a phrase for it now. I mean, everybody's heard of FOMO, fear of missing out, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's not a new concept. That's just an identification of a concept that's been with us since the caveman days.
Then what's your next step after that?
Well, and see, this is another counterintuitive thing, because there's in most companies, sales and marketing are like cats and dogs. They're supposed to be doing the same thing, but they're always blaming each other for lack of revenue. The marketing people say you're not following up properly on the leads, and the salespeople say you're giving us horrible leads to begin with. So the Glengarry Glen Ross scenes. Jack Lemmon says leads are shit. But actually, at this point in time, what you really want to be doing is circling back with them over the effectiveness of the marketing. What was it about the website that you liked? What intrigued you in the first place? If you go back and really just sort of do a reassessment of what aspects of your marketing were effective, you're not going to pull a lot of data for your marketing people, and you may be marketing and sales all in one person, so you need to get more information on the effectiveness of your marketing and how to tailor it, more demographics on your customer. But also this gets you out of the close mode, because now it becomes a conversation, and it happens to become a conversation on what their need was in the first place. So it gives you an opportunity to take a deep dive into the actual pain that they have. Pain is not about inflicting pain. Pain is about finding out what their legitimate pain is and helping them understand how you might qualify for them on tailoring your offering so that you really do have a value proposition as opposed to guessing at your value proposition.
And then do you move on to like implication type questions of,
Well, then the crazy thing to do is to simply thank them for their time and get off the phone.
Because you don't want to go too far too fast?
Well, because the last impression is the lasting impression. Now, number one, you don't want to go too far too fast. But number two, what happens when you have just now had a great conversation about what their need is and what their pain is and what their potential losses are, and then you say, look, you've been very generous with your time, thank you very much, and you hang up. What's the impression the other side is left with? If the last impression is the lasting impression.
That you're helpful and supportive and smart and not pushy.
And that they just missed out.
Okay.
Now, they missed out on an opportunity to address their issues. Which now the sustainability of that thought in their brain is really strong. So when you or a colleague calls back in a week, they will remember that the last time they spoke to you, they may have missed out on an opportunity, and their desire to avoid missing out on that opportunity now is much stronger. Now you can get the appointment.
Now, I'm sure you're selling a lot right now, right? I mean, you sell your services, your consulting services, your training. Take us through that journey. Let's say a CEO hears you speak, reads your book, visits your website, hears you on the podcast, and wants you to come in. But then you get into terms like, money, timing, all those things. How do you guide them through that process?
Well, we start talking to them about, again, like, what were you after in the first place? I mean, somebody may say, look, call us on the phone and say, hey, look, what do you guys charge for training? And we'll say, seems like you're up against something here.
Okay.
Because we need to know what's going on with the other side and what we're faced with. I mean, to some degree, it's a little bit like going to a tailor and asking for a suit before you've been measured.
Yeah.
Like, what's this suit going to cost? I don't know. I got to measure it. I got to find out what you want. I got to find out what works for you. You want something off the rack? Go down the street to Sears. They get suits at Sears. But if you want a suit that fits you and that you look great in and it works for you and that you're proud to own and will make you a better businessman, we need to know a little bit more what we're dealing with. Not the least of which on the other side is, what's their culture? Have they got a learning culture? Awesome. Because what difference does that make? How much of our lessons are going to be reinforced after we've done the training, or how much do we have to build reinforcement in after the training because they got no reinforcement? So, any client that calls us on the phone, potential client, I want to figure out what kind of a delivery can we offer you that's actually going to have a massive impact on your bottom line. Because if it doesn't have a massive impact on your bottom line, what you're going to say is, well, we took the Black Swan group training and it didn't do us any good. I don't need that.
Right.
So if we can't make it really good for you and know that it's going to do you good, then we're wasting everybody's time. I mean, I could come in and train you for a day and take your money. I could convince you to pay me a lot of money to train me for a day. I can get paid, but am I going to impact your bottom line? Are you going to provide me with great referrals? The answer to that is no, because we've done that in the past. We charge a lot of money, and if you're really insistent on making us take your money, we'll do it. But we're not going to expect a referral out of it because you haven't got an environment or an inclination to really make sure your people have an impact on their bottom line. It's like buying a better printer and then not using it.
Now, do you believe everything is negotiable?
Well, that's enough of a blanket statement. I'll give you the negotiator answer. It depends. Yeah. We always had a saying in hostage negotiation that there are some lids that are screwed on so tight nobody can get them off.
Yeah.
So, we never, pretty close to everything is negotiable, but then, can you guarantee success? I could never guarantee anybody's success. I can guarantee somebody their best chance of success. So then it becomes, what sort of absolutes are you talking about?
Well, I mean, for salespeople who are listening, clearly negotiating a deal is important, and that's always a negotiation at the high dollar amount. And what salespeople want is basically the customer to do something that costs more than the customer wants to spend, and to do it sooner than the customer wants to do it. Those are kind of the two key things that I always ran up against. We had a time frame, end of quarter, end of year, end of month, whatever. And the customer always wants to buy as little as possible and then scale it as they need or sometime after they need. And the salesperson always wants to do it as much upfront as possible and at the highest price possible.
Yeah, and to me that the real indicator there is, if as a buyer I can never buy anything that works the way the salesman told me it was gonna work, then why wouldn't I want to slash the hell out of the price on you? If it's not going to work the way you said it's going to anyway, if it's not actually tailored for me, if it's not what I'm looking for, why should I pay full price? Buyers are conditioned that salespeople are giving them whatever they got just to make the sale. And if you're going to commoditize yourself, if you're going to be that suit from Sears that you're not going to tailor, then yeah, I'm not paying you anything for that. So, there's a chicken and an egg thing here. And I see it, like if as a salesperson, you're sure of your value proposition before you get the client on the phone, then that means you're not going to listen to anything I say, and I'm entitled to kill you on a price, because there's absolutely no way you could have pre-tailored that for me and have it fit me properly.
And how much of what you teach is like a structured system versus somebody who can really have a sense for it, have an ability for it?
Yeah, you can't have a structured system. It's just not possible. That's like saying, if whatever sport you're in, let's we just finished the World Series is just over. And that's like a pitcher getting on the mound and say, you know what? Then I'm going to throw the next 10 pitches, and here's what they're going to be no matter what happens, no matter what batter's in front of me, no matter how he happens to feel in the moment, no matter how hot that batter is or how cold he is. You know what? I got my next 10 pitches scripted out, and I'm throwing those pitches no matter who they put up. That's just silly.
Yeah.
You have a basic repertoire, and then you've got to be able to adjust in the moment.
But isn't that, I mean, I agree with you because, but in sales, everybody wants a system. And if you look at, what is the 2 or 3 most successful sales programs in the last 20 years, Spin, maybe Solution and Challenger. It's all silver bullet approaches that work under certain cases, like a fastball, in certain cases they do work, but they don't work in every case. But people love that. People want something simple. And it's probably a obstacle that you're facing in people adopting your training, isn't it?
Well, people love something simple principally because they misunderstand the learning curve.
Yeah.
And because, the learning curve is really the shape of the bell curve, which means it's steepest and most difficult at the very beginning. And you don't have to go very far, and you get over the bell curve hump. Now, as human beings, when we get started on a learning curve, if it's steep at the beginning, we think this is always going to be like this. My God, when is this going to stop? And that's actually one of the main points when we train, that we help people understand that the awkwardness that you feel in a moment, number one, it's not going to last, and number two, it's you're going to build the neural synapses you need to be able to adapt in the moment, and it's going to come to you a lot faster than it feels like it's going to come to you right now. And we can actually define it pretty closely how long it's going to take.
And how long is that? But before somebody goes from a B player to an A player.
I listened to a Blue Angels pilot talk a couple of months ago, and he said, it takes about 67 repetitions to adopt a habit.
Yeah.
So if you'll suffer through and try this somewhere in the vicinity of about 60 tries, and actually, like the mirror skill, repeating the last 3 words of what somebody's just said, potentially the most awkward feeling skill that we have out there. If you try it 60 times, somewhere between 20 and 60, it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
If you're a slow learner, it's going to take you 63 times. And that's the worst it's going to be. And then as soon as we put a predictable amount of time on it, people go like, oh, okay. All right, as long as it's not going to take 2,063 times. Now, you know what? I can suffer through 63 tries. Let me give this a try.
But you don't recommend more than one at a time, or?
It's whatever you want to have fun with.
Yeah.
And there's some people that some of these techniques. Like I met a guy at a conference, and we ended up calling him Johnny Mirrors, because all he did was mirror people. He was driving his wife crazy, because at the end of the conference, everybody would walk up to him and they'd go like, "You're so much fun to talk to. We like you." And they'd look at his wife and they'd say to his wife, "Your husband is just, what a great guy. We love this guy." And she would glare at him because she knew that the only thing he did the entire conference was mirror people, and they loved him for it.
Yeah. And so I guess if you were to go from, I'm thinking like, okay, there's a lot. Like I listened to your book on Audible, and there's a lot there. And I've watched your YouTube videos, and and there's a lot there as well. But it can be overwhelming, and I'm sure you sense that with your clients. What prescription do you give them to go from where they are to where they need to be or want to be? Is it, each person's different, each person's learning style is different, but most of us have a typical sales process with typical questions, typical objections, typical resistance at certain stages, that each of these techniques are insanely powerful.
Well, yeah, there's a lot there, but it's like sitting at a great buffet and going like, oh my God, there's just too much here that I want.
Yeah.
All right, so then also, but some of this stuff, what we've found typically is no matter who you are, there's going to be aspects of this you're going to get right away as soon as we show it to you. And you're going to take to it really fast. And that'll help buy you time with the other stuff that takes a little bit longer for you to do. That'll buy you time that you need. Like some people immediately figure out no-oriented questions and they never try to get yes out of anybody ever again. Other people's yes addiction is so bad that breaking your yes addiction is like breaking your addiction to heroin. But it's an addiction to heroin is equally as self-destructive.
Yeah.
Because let's go back to how many people in your life are not returning your phone calls or your emails. That is a direct reflection of your yes addiction. Because they're tired of you trapping them with yes. But that might be a hard habit for you to break.
And you never gave us the reveal on how your client gets the return email. Because, going what I call radio silent in sales, or going dark.
So it's a one-line email. Have you given up on this project? That's it.
That's
no
cool.
more. No more. No more words than that. Don't add to it. Don't. No joke. One-line email. Put it in the header. Don't put anything in a body. If you put anything in a body, repeat that word for word in the body. Yeah. You can send it on a text message. Hold your breath. You're going to get an answer before you pass out.
That is good. Now, for the people who are listening, both managers and salespeople, how should they go about learning about you and your work? Is it the book? Is it the website? Whatever works for them? Or
well, you need the book's digestible. It's an easy read. The best place to buy it is on Amazon. Amazon's got the best prices. They're disrupting everybody's business model. Get it there. But if you really want to be good, and you might not want to be good, subscribe to our newsletter. It's complimentary. It's free. It comes out once a week on Tuesdays. Negotiation advice, quick, easy, short, digestible stuff. Plus, it's a gateway to everything we do. We do special training sessions, one-day open enrollment. We just finished one in New York. Other special products that we have, special interviews on podcasts. And the easiest, fastest way to subscribe to this newsletter is called The Edge, is to text all one word, FBI empathy. Don't let your spell check put a space in there. It's got to be all one word. It's not case sensitive. FBI empathy, no space in between. Send a text to 22828, and that's 22828. And you'll get a response back. It'll sign you up for the newsletter, and that is the gateway to everything.
Excellent. I really appreciate your time today, Chris.
Brian, I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode. And I really will appreciate everybody who goes onto LinkedIn, connects up with me, or follows me there. If you happen to see some of my content flying by, if you could throw a little thumbs up or a comment or a share, I definitely appreciate it. It helps spread the word about the podcast. And make sure you're checking out my website, b2brevenue.com. You can get my free book on how companies make product selections. It's a real book. It is on Amazon, but I give it away for free. Just register there. It'll email you a link to it, and you can just download the PDF from there. Also, if you want to check out the courses, start the conversation, get the meeting, or closing the complex sale, and you have more questions about it, the short answer is there are video courses. You get access for a year, but it's also a community. What does that mean? You can ask questions anytime via voicemail or email. I answer them within a week, put them into the course. We have office hours every other week. It's an hour long course where you can basically, I pick a topic, answer questions, you can ask questions. Also, you can schedule one-on-ones for free, and we just talk through your particular use case, and that gets shared with the course. So if you don't have time for office hours or the timing doesn't work, or you just want some more one-on-one help, that's all included for a whole year. So it's really a year to go from where you are to where you want to be. And so it's not just videos. It's not just knowledge. It's practice. It's getting feedback. You can send me emails. You can send me your presentation. I'll help you with anything that you need to close the complex sale or get the meeting. And you can check out them at b2brevenue.com. So that's it. I really appreciate it. And please tell somebody about the podcast and let me know if I can help you in any way. Oh, and you want to hear some results from the course? Well, here you go.
You know, I love the approach. It's working for me just fantastic. If I sent you some of the emails, which I should, the conversations that I'm having with people, I think you'd be blown away because they're not really about work. Yeah. I've figured out if you can kind of get personal with them, like one lady, it's all about her family, kids. And then I sprinkled in a little bit around work, and she's LinkedIn, sending me messages on LinkedIn, photos of her family. No, I'm not even kidding. I should show this to you. You'd be stunned. I was shocked. And we're going to lunch on September 6th. And yesterday she shot me a LinkedIn message and said, "Hey, Ron, why don't we get on the phone and do a video call beforehand so our lunch isn't so awkward? We're like barely not meeting each other for the first time." Oh, holy cow, right? Like, this is unbelievable. So this is not the first time that this has happened. She's kind of an extreme, but I'm starting to figure out a pattern where I can actually make this a process, you know? So
good. Yeah.
I'll show you that. So it's getting to that point. And every time I do this, I'm like, God, this is unbelievable, you know? So,
and it feels better too, doesn't it?
Oh, Brian, let me tell you something. To be able to go to lunch with her, I'll even talk to her on the phone, right? We're going to talk about family, kids, work-life harmony, because I shared a thing with her from Bezos about work-life harmony. This is where the conversation will start. Now, at some point, we're both not stupid, right? We know we're going to talk about work. We know why we're both there. Right. But to kick it off this way is so much better. And to end that lunch with the last 5 to 8 minutes of telling, well, what are you guys doing with digital